Hello everyone, I am the MoeChicken. Welcome to my stream. Oh, shut up, me. Shut up. Sorry. Took a vacation on the 5th, so you're ready for a Mo visit. Awesome. Yes, I'm excited about that. I hope it turns out well. We have been trying to plan some sort of trip in the 5th of July, so I'm hoping that that comes out well. So the heat has arrived. It has been getting warmer and warmer recently where I live, which is not a whole lot of fun. And it bums me out because it means I can't really keep my house as cool as I would like for it to. Like I've put up got my fans running, I got my blackout curtains up. My house is a dark, dark cave, but it doesn't matter. It's still like 75 degrees in here. So I didn't feel like I wanted to do any sort of stream that involved a lot of like voices and so forth. So I figured, hey, I'll just do an art stream. I don't know if it'll be a full length stream or not. You know, we'll just kind of do it until I kind of run out of gump. So let's go ahead and switch over to desktop. Yeah. Also, let's get some music going. What's wrong? Oh, just the fact that it's hot. I just don't like hot weather, really. I get frustrated when it's hot because like I just. Oh yeah. I was talking about how the heat has arrived and so it is warm now, and I hate that because I can't control the temperature of my house, and that's very frustrating to me. But you know, it could be worse. At least I have AC, and you know I can kind of get away from it. And like right now, I've got a fan going directly underneath me, like underneath my desk. So it's not terrible. I'm just complaining. But you know, it's a good time for us to do some drawing, I think, and that's the plan for tonight. So for those who are not part of the Discord and haven't seen it, I've been working recently on doing some redesigns for some characters that I developed many years ago. It was a comic book idea that I came up with. By the way, there's music playing in the background. It's quiet. If you can't hear it or if it's overwhelming, let me know and I'll adjust that. But it's just kind of like a playlist of like backgroundy sort of music. Yeah, so you've been swimming today, so you're all temperature regulated. That must be nice. I wish I could go swimming. When I went down to visit my parents in Mobile, they have a swimming pool, and I went swimming only once. Admittedly, I should have gone more often, but I didn't. Anyway, yeah. So I've been redesigning some characters that I made a long time ago for a comic book idea, and they're coming out very well. And so I thought maybe I could spend some time working on that some more. So we're just gonna go with that as the idea. You love water, crazy that you're a fire sign. I am also a fire sign. I was born in December, and apparently that makes me... Apparently, as I understand it, I'm just barely a fire sign, though. So, like, I'm, like, almost not. I'm, like, on the very tail end of what counts as being a fire sign. And as a result, I'm kind of like a wet fire sign. Like, I'm not a very passionate fire sign. So, go figure. Yeah, Jimmy got his PS2 and it seems to be working. Have you been playing some GT4, Gran Turismo 4, Jimmy? If so, how's it going? Hopefully, well, I actually can't hear my own music, so let me turn it up. It's been going well. That's awesome. When I come, would I like to go kayaking? I mean, kayaking sounds like it's fun, but I mean, I'm only going to be there for a day. So we got to kind of focus on what I'm capable of doing in the amount of time that I would be present. And the arcade is the most important bit to me. Oh, does this have words? No, I don't want words. Words distract me. Remove that. I don't want words. For that matter, I still have to get I have to get my hotel. I haven't done that yet. I'm excited though. I was looking at the game list that they have at that Arcade Legacy place. And no, it's just so the way it works, it's gonna take me like 8 hours to get there. So I'm planning to drive for most of the day on Friday, the 5th, and then Saturday will be completely open for us to do stuff, and then Sunday I drive back. So it's gonna be kind of a whirlwind tour for me, but gotta see that arcade though, 'cause, man, they had some good looking things. They had like lots of pinball machines. They had all kinds of like retro arcade games. I'm very excited. I'm very excited about it. So this guy, the guy that I'm drawing right now, this is Malcolm Fairmond, aka Mac. He is sort of the protagonist character of the game idea slash comic idea that this is based on. And he is originally based on the protagonist from Benjamin from Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Part of the reason that I've been kind of drawing these characters again is because I played FF Mystic Quest again recently, which is a game I like. I like it. I like Mystic Quest. Yeah, like many years ago, how these characters came about was that I was running into the situation where like I wanted to have like a collection of characters that like I had designed myself, that I could use as kind of like I guess generic models, because like I was running into the situation where I like wanted to draw characters in like different costumes, but I felt like a sense that I needed to, if I was going to draw like, well, we're listening to Chrono Trigger music, if I was going to draw like Princess Nadia from Chrono Trigger, I feel like I would draw her in an outfit from Chrono Trigger, and that would feel normal. But if I wanted to like just make something up, I felt like I kind of needed a default character. So at the time, I decided I would redesign all of the characters from Mystic Quest, because back then it was a game. I've always enjoyed the game, but it was just kind of like it was just a game that I played, and the characters in that game are kind of like simple sprites, and so I figured I could just kind of do what I wanted. Well, as is the case with me, anytime I do something creative with like a game or something, I become really attached to it. And so I got to the point where I was like, I really like Mystic Quest because I went through this trouble of redesigning the characters. And so, again, recently since Hey, Possum! Possum raid! Oh, snap! Everybody hide your pizza. Possum's here. Gonna steal the pizza. How you doing, Possum? Hope your shoulder's getting better. Oh, we're just drawing tonight. That's the plan. Speaking of Possum, actually, I was watching Game Grumps the other day. They were playing that was it Possum Pizza? The game where you play as a possum and you just steal food. It was adorable. That game is awesome. Really cute. And I thought of you the whole time, Possum. I'm like, I know a possum. I do. I knows me a possum. She got some Maggie, too. I saw you were doing a little photo dump of the mags in the Brutal chat. Time for my possum tax. What does that mean? Does knowing a possum require you to pay them periodically? It's time for your possum tax. You have to give me one trash can full of garbage. Thank you. What was I talking about before Possum showed up? That's not important. All things changed when Possum showed up. Oh, I'm owed one possum... Wait, I'm owed a possum doodle? So I don't have to give you a possum doodle. You're gonna give me a possum doodle? I mean, I'll take a possum doodle. I think I get what you mean, possum. Hang on. I gotta pay the tax man. All right, possum. What do you want your possum doodle to be doing? Sleeping? I was gonna have you stealing pizza. I can draw you sleeping though. Stealing eggs? Don't steal eggs. Those are important to me. I love this song. So, if you're not familiar, there was a fighting game. I think it was released for PS4 originally. Maybe PS3. It was called Skullgirls. It's a really cool, like, stylish game. It's definitely one of those games that kind of makes me wish I played fighting games more because it's just so cool. Like it's like fully animated. Like they did like 2D animation and they did it in a way that looks like looks really cool and like stylish, and the music is phenomenal. Music's really good. It was also one of those fighting games that kind of like Blaze Blue popularized the idea of like the really story intense fighting game, which I'm into because I like story. Unfortunately, it's just a problem because I can't play fighting games, so it's like I get like part of the way through the game and then I can't beat it. I'm like, oh, I want to find out the rest of the story, but I'm bad. But yeah, this is one of the songs from it. All right, there you go. There's your doodle. So I look forward to when you pay me for my doodle. No problem. Glad you like it, Possum. I can send it to you later on if you like. But yeah, like those fighting games, like what is it? Bye, Possum. Have fun. Hope you feel better. Yeah, like Blaze Blue or like Persona 4 Arena. It was always such a frustrating thing for me because like they had like good plots as though they were like RPGs, but you had to do a fighting game to just get the plot. It's like I can't grind in a fighting game. I can't just do what I do in RPGs that are being trouble, where I just grind to get stronger. No, in this I actually have to become better at the game. That's too much trouble. So it was always very frustrating. It's like, oh, I want to know what happens in this game, but too bad. Ain't good at games. At some point, I do still sort of want to play the Weapon Master mode from Soul Calibur 2. Just because I think it's such a cool thing. to have in a game. The problem is then I have to play it. Y'all are gonna see me get real ragey if I do that. Because I'm just, like, I just have never been really great at fighting games because I get flustered really easily. Like, I'm one of those people that doesn't, like, if I start to do badly in a match, I'll just start button mashing, and that's never a good plan. Never works. This is not a good plan. But I do want to show it off at some point. Even if we don't beat it, I want to show off the Webmaster Mode, because I just thought it was such a cool thing. I guess if you're not familiar, because this is just a rambling stream anyway. In Soul Calibur 2 for the PS2, well, I think it was for all of the variants of it that were released, there was a mode called Weapon Master Mode, which was designed around this idea of a series of, like, challenge battles, would be the best way to describe it. And they had a plot for it. So, like, the idea is that, I guess in a broader sense, if you're not familiar with the Soul Calibur games, they're all based around this search for something called Soul Edge, which is supposedly the most powerful sword in the world and will allow you victory in all your fights and stuff like that. And so, like, some people are trying to get Soul Edge because they want to become the strongest fighter, and then other people want to get Soul Edge because they know it's an evil sword that steals the hearts of men and they want to stop it. And so it's just, all the games are based around this competition to find Soul Edge. And in Weapon Master mode, they kind of have, like, a map screen where you're allowed to take paths and go hither and yon to try to find Soul Edge, and you have to keep getting into fights that have, like, special conditions. Like, there's one where you accidentally take, like, a ferry that turns out to be, like, pirates, and they poison you. And so as you're trying to, like, fight off the pirate, like, you have to fight a couple of, like, consecutive battles against characters. And I mean, all the characters are still the regular, like, Soul Calibur people. They just gave them, like, different names. And you have to fight with, like, lowered health or something. And it's cool. Plus, they also have this feature where you can, like, buy weapons that do different things. Like, you might have a weapon that makes you slower, but you do more damage. Hotel for search for me at Red Roof Inn in Florence, Kentucky. Kentucky? Cincinnati's in Ohio, isn't it? Do I not know where Cincinnati is? Here, Eden. If it's all right, I appreciate the consideration. Let's save this for the Discord, though, so it's not in the stream. It just feels like it feels like I would be talking about something unrelated. And I know I always talk about things that are unrelated, but I'd rather not kind of muddy up the stream with too much of that. But I appreciate it, and I will look at it later. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Weapon Master mode. Anyway, it's just cool. It's like a cool sort of special mode. Plus, they have these sections that are like full-on dungeon mazes where, like, you go in and you have, like, various paths you can take, and you have to, like, fight through all these different it's just cool. I'll play it eventually, and when I do, you'll see why I'm bad at fighting games. But you know. Yeah, that's a good game, though. Right now we're listening to this is Bloodstained music. I tell you what, I've said it before, but Bloodstained, like, that Bloodstained Ritual of the Night really makes me appreciate how good a Kickstarter can be. Because holy crap, there was so much content that came from that Kickstarter. Like, even if they had just made the game, that would have been enough. But, like, even recently, they unveiled, like, a new online competitive mode where you can, like, race through a stage with, like, another person online, and like they had like, what is it, three, four, maybe, yeah, I think it was just three different like bonus games that came along with it. Just really a very good Kickstarter. Now, mind you, I would love it if they made another one, or, you know, if Konami got off their butts and decided to make another actual Castlevania game. That would also be cool. I don't think they will, but it would be cool if they made one. I think in the end that just comes down to like economics, really, which is frustrating. It's like one of those things you never want to hear as a gamer. The sort of like the disappointing knowledge that like these companies that make so many amazing stories and like these things that have such an impact on our lives, in the end, you know, they're just companies. You know, they gotta make money, and if something doesn't make money, they can't make it. That's how it is for Konami, is that Castlevania only makes money as a reference. You know, the games don't make money, the pachinko games make money, and so we just gotta make the pachinko games, and that's how you make money. I don't know. It's disappointing, but it is what it is. I told y'all that I've been playing the Castlevania Advance Collection recently. I finally finished up all 3 games recently. Finished up Aria of Sorrow. That was the last one I had to go. Well, I say that I didn't actually play through Dracula X, but I own a copy of that, so it's fine. But this is the thing I did not remember. There's a part at the very end. So if you're not I guess back up. If you're not familiar with Aria of Sorrow. By the way, this is Mac. Y'all want me to color these, or should I just draw them, you think? I guess I could color them. That might not be a bad idea. Mac. Fairmont. There we go. Yeah, I'll go ahead and color them. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So if you're not familiar with Aria of Sorrow, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow actually takes place well after most Castlevania games, because most Castlevania games are set in sort of more like the Middle Ages. Castlevania Aria of Sorrow actually takes place in the future, and we haven't gotten to the date. It's 2032, I think, is when Castlevania Aria of Sorrow is supposed to take place. So it's coming up. We're not there yet. But it centers around a young man named Soma Cruz, who, based on that name, sounds like he's like it's Cruz, which I think is like Spanish, but he's not Spanish. And he lives in Japan, but he also doesn't live in Japan. I don't know. Anyway, he one day when he goes to visit his friend Mina Hakuba, who is a shrine maiden, they were going to go see an eclipse together. And so he goes up to see her. As soon as he arrives at the shrine, suddenly he passes out, and he finds himself inexplicably in a strange Western Gothic cathedral, or Western Gothic castle, which, as you might expect, is Dracula's castle. Without explaining too much about it, what's going on here? Why can't I? Hang on. What's going on? What is the fill button? Oh, okay, there we go. That's too dark. That's too dark. His skin's not that dark. Yeah, I don't want to give away the whole plot, but basically what you find out what you find out is that Soma has the ability to sort of like control the power of monsters. So he can, like, when he fights a monster, sometimes he will gain its powers in kind of the same way that Miriam from Bloodstained could sometimes like get the powers of the monsters that she fights. Soma's the same way. I mean, it was basically the same system. So Um, well, at the very end of the story, um, there's a moment like after you've defeated the final boss, you escaped from the castle, and Mina is talking to Soma, and she's like, "How do you feel? You know, it's like, do you feel like you've changed because of all this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do. I'm a lot cooler now," which is just the funniest line. He's like, "Yeah, I'm cool now." And Mina's like, "Wow, that's an interesting take." It's just so funny. "I'm a lot cooler now. Bro, I'm so awesome now." Would y'all be interested in seeing that game? Would y'all be interested in seeing any of those? Like, I considered playing that tonight, actually. Like, I wanted to play, what's that game? I wanted to play Dawn of Sorrow, which is the unnecessary sequel to Aria of Sorrow. I say unnecessary because I genuinely think the only reason Aria of Sorrow was made... You want me to see it? Okay, good to know. Thank you, Jimmy. The only reason Aria of Sorrow was made, I think, or the only reason Dawn of Sorrow was made was because Konami wanted to get out a Castlevania game on the DS as quick as possible, and they wanted to reuse the Soul system because it had been tremendously successful. The Soul system being the thing that like Soma used. But in terms of like the story, there's no point for it. It's a completely encapsulated and unnecessary plot. And I think probably the series canon would have made more sense if they had just kind of kept it to one game. But it's still a fun game. But I realized that if I was going to play Dawn of Sorrow, I would probably need to play Aria of Sorrow first, which is the more like plot relevant story. So that would involve me hooking up my Switch in here, and I just didn't want to do it. Because again, it's hot. I don't like it being hot. I hate when it gets hot. I'm just not great. Like, the thing is, I think what it really comes down to is I'm one of those kind of people that sweats easily. I get sweaty very quickly. Which I guess biologically means that I'm pretty good at handling heat, since the human body's main means of fighting off heat is to sweat, so the fact that my body does it quickly is probably a good thing evolutionarily, but I still hate it because it is not useful nowadays. And I just don't like being sweaty, because it makes you feel like while you're sweaty, it makes you feel gross. After the sweat dries, it makes you feel gross. It's just all gross. And so I like being cool. And when I can't make that happen for myself, I'm frustrated. Like, especially when I don't have somewhere to escape to, you know? Like, if it was just hot outside, but it was cool inside my house, that'd be one thing. You know, it's like, I was like, okay, well, I mean, I'm not going to intercede with the seasons. But the fact that I can't get away from it is what sucks. But again, it's not as bad as it could be. I know some places, like, oh, doggone it. Undo? Okay. Like, I want to say the Midwest? I saw that, like, the temperatures were really bad some places of the U.S. I mean, where I'm at, it's, like, in the upper 80s and 90s, but it's not, like, in the hundreds or anything like that, so it could definitely be worse. I love Mac's hair. I know that's a weird thing to say, but again, this is one of the first characters. This is, like, one of my first OCs, I guess you'd say, that I built like a comic around that wasn't like a wasn't just like me. Because when I was a kid, I used to write comics that were just sort of like a fantasy version of me and my friends having adventures. And I had like 2 or 3 of those of different types. Like I had one that was like regular me, and then I had one where I was like a little miniature person, like about a couple inches tall, and I had one where I think I was like Earthworm Jim. I had a bunch of them, but Mac here was one of the first characters I made that was sort of like he's not me in any way. You know, he's just like a guy. He's another guy. And I like him. He's a fun character. He's kind of snarky. He's kind of I was gonna say quick-tempered. He's not really quick-tempered per se, but he's one of the other things I added for this comic was I figured there would be periods of time where it would just be Mac alone, and I wanted him to be able to have dialogue options. And so he has like a little friend that hangs out with him. He's like a little, he kind of looks like a weasel, I guess, like a flying weasel. His name's Rhett, and I wanted to have sort of an option where I could like have them talking and like they bicker and they snipe at each other, and it's kind of fun. So I don't know. Do you ever have that, like, people that are creative, you have like a character or an idea or something that you make like when you're young and you kind of like it stays with you for a long time, but you're really proud of it? That's kind of what Mac is. And it's been really fun to kind of like revisit these characters because I haven't done so in such a long time. Like I mentioned it earlier, I wanted them to be like a comic. And it's one of the few situations where like one of my comic ideas I made like a whole first comic for it. Actually, I did that twice. I made a whole comic for it in like 2009. And I decided I didn't like that one. And so then I did it again some years later. So it's one of the few instances where I like actually did the thing, but then didn't release it in any way. Because I just still wasn't happy with how it turned out. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's cool to revisit like an old idea. And I've invented 2 new characters to, oh shoot, this should be flesh colored. I invented 2 new characters because, I think I mentioned it already. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. It's just because I'm trying to divide my attention. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. It's what I do in every stream and video. So, there you go. Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, so these characters were based on the protagonists from Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, which I definitely did say now that I think about it. And when I was writing the story for the redesigns, which the story is called Viator, which is Latin for messenger, and it is sort of it's a description of Mac and Rhett and what their mission is. They are the Viator, or he is the Viator, and it's his responsibility to go and visit all of the sort of like well springs of magical power throughout the world, which are like out of whack, and he's supposed to try and like restore them. Again, it's basically the plot of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, or a variety of other Final Fantasies. But, you know, I just kind of added my own little spin to it. Anyway, where was I going with that? Yeah, so in the original FF Mystic Quest, they have 4 elements. They have fire, water, wind, and earth. To that, I decided to add... oh, wait, no. Hang on. They have fire, water, wind, and earth, but then also they have light, which is different from most Final Fantasy games. Like, Final Fantasy games usually describe the collaboration of the 4 elements as the power of light. But in and so there's usually 4 crystals, 1 for each of the 4 elements, and then the idea is that together they have the light of the crystals is the power of light. Well, so I decided I wanted to add 2 more to that. Namely, I added shadow and ice. Not terribly creative, I know, but I wanted to have 6 elements. Well, so in my original character development, I pretty much just stuck to redesigning the characters that existed. So in Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, there are five playable characters. Yeah. There's the main character, Benjamin. There is the girl from Foresta, Kylie, who can speak to the trees. There is the Spencer's granddaughter from Aquaria, Phoebe, who is sort of like a spiritual character, I guess. There is Ruben, who is a what would you call him? I guess he's sort of like a... He doesn't really have a job. He's just sort of like an adventurer, I guess, would be the best way to describe Ruben. He's from Fireburg. And then you have Tristan, the treasure hunter, who they never really say where he's from. And so I redesigned all of them. So Mac is the analog for Benjamin. Jennifer Charmaine is the analog for Kylie. Richard is the analog for Ruben. Toya is the analog for Tristan, and then Jue is the analog for Phoebe. And so that was supposed to cover the elements that existed, but it kind of didn't, because like Zue's full name is Jiang Zue, which if I understand correctly, would be Snow River in Chinese, and she, like, if you've played Mystic Quest, you might know that most of the water crystal stuff actually relates more to ice. There's not really like that much water involved, it's frozen water. And the whole idea is that the reason Aquaria is kind of messed up is because there's too much ice. And so Zue is more fit for like an ice crystal role than she is for water magic. So I decided, and then Toya, or Tristan, is like a ninja. And so I felt like he would fit a lot better with like the darkness element than, I guess he was supposed to be wind in the original game, I'm not really sure. And so I made a wind character and I made a water character. The water character is named Salvador Gardes, and he's... I actually really like how he turned out. I guess I can show y'all. Let's see. The people on my Discord have already seen this, but I'll go ahead and share it on the screen. Artsy. Let's see. You all see that? Let's show up. Yeah. Okay. So I shared these the other night. So there's Mac. That's Jen. That's Rick. That's Sal. And then that's Zue. And then I also released the wind character recently. I put that on the brutal chat. Sorry people. There she is. So this is the wind character. So I still need to redesign Toya. But where was I going with that? Just that I'm very happy with how the redesigns have come out. And I'm very happy that like both Sal and the as yet unnamed wind magic character turned out well. Because I mean, I just kind of made them up on the spot. But I wanted like a I'm a fan of having this might sound arrogant or naive or whatever, and I apologize for that if it comes across the wrong way, but I like having characters that have different ethnicities in my games, or in my stories. I like having like, and that's one of the things that kind of bugged me a little bit about these character redesigns. I made these back before I really started to add a lot of other ethnicities to my stories because, you know, again, a lot of the character designs I came up with come from video games, and video games from the past weren't exactly bastions of a lot of different races, frankly. You didn't see that many dark-skinned people in old games. Pretty much just saw light-skinned people. So I like adding darker-skinned people, or just all, you know, different ethnicities. And so Sal is sort of dark-skinned, and I like that. And then I think I'm going to make Toya sort of more Asian coded, I guess you could say, because I mean his name's Toya. He's a ninja. Makes sense that he would be like Japanese. I don't know. I just think that I don't think that there's anything to be lost by adding people from other races. So that's what I'm trying to do. And again, I'm trying to make a big deal of it. But I do like how Sal came out. The other kind of fun thing is that, again, if you're familiar with the original Mystic Quest, you're probably aware of the fact that over the course of the game, Benjamin gets a variety of different weapon types. So he starts off with a sword, he gets like an axe, he gets a, what do you call it? It's an axe, it's a sword, he gets bombs, and he gets sort of like, I guess, claws, you know, like martial arts claws, that are originally he gets them so he can like climb walls. So the fact that they're like a weapon seems a little strange, but over the course of that game, you get like allies that have the ability to shoot arrows or have some sort of like projectile attack, but you never actually get them yourself. And I always hated that. It always seemed weird to me that they have like a class of weapon that you can't use. Because I mean, one of the major things about Mystic Quest as a game is that over the course of the game, you get a variety of allies. And especially early on, it feels like your allies are always better than you. They're always stronger than you. They've always got better spells. They always come into your party at a higher level. And it always just kind of makes you feel like, well, why am I here? You know, it's like, I'm not supposed to be here. These guys clearly have this taken care of. What do they need me for? Speaking of Jimmy, sorry, quick interruption. Can you hear the music all right? Is it coming across? Like, I don't want this to be just a stream of me talking and with no like background music. So I want to make sure that it's actually audible. I mean, it's all kind of quiet music anyway, but, you know, it'd be better if you could hear it. What was I saying? Yeah. Just this idea that, like, especially early on, Benjamin can't really do very much. You know, he's got a limited set of spells. He's only got his sword, really. And as you play, you gain more spells, and you gain more... You hear music? Excellent. Thank you, Eden. We're listening to some more lovely bloodstained... or lovely blood-stained music, which sounds very menacing, but music from Bloodstained Ritual tonight. Yeah, like as you go along, you get more abilities, and gradually, especially by the end of the game, Benjamin's kit is so broad that he can, like, he's way more useful than the allied characters you get. Like, they're just kind of like backup for his plethora of abilities. But you never get the ability to shoot arrows at all. And so, as I do, you know, I have delusions of grandeur, and I would love to make a video game someday, and I'd love to make a game about this. And as a result, you know, thanks to that, I have, like, the sort of concept for that game that I have is a game in which you have these allies and you can like switch with them. And as a result, like the main character, Mac here, doesn't ever get those other abilities, but since his party broadens, you can always swap them out and use different types of weapons. So each one of the 6 allied characters in my version of it have a different weapon type. So Jin uses an extensible staff, so like it's basically the if you're familiar with the story of Sun Wukong, basically what Goku was based on, sort of the what is his actual name though? All I can think of is Sun Wukong. Basically, like the Journey to the West monkey guy. He has like the Nyoibo, which is that they have it in Dragon Ball too. It's that stick that Goku has that just goes on forever. She basically has something referential to that. She's got like a staff which can be like collapsed or extended. Mac uses a sort of like I guess you'd call it like a battle cane would be the best way to describe it. It's this thing here. It's like it's sort of like a solid wooden stick, like a shillelagh with like a handle. And again, because he's supposed to be a wanderer, it also has an ability where like if you twist like the round head at the end of it, it will turn into like a full-length staff, which he uses just for walking, really. It's not a fighting thing. And then Richard uses a sort of like a mace and those little like bombs that I mentioned that Benjamin gets earlier. So he has like a mace and bombs, and I have this idea that he uses them like baseballs. So he'll basically pitch a bomb to himself and then hit it with the mace, and that's how he like attacks. Is he like baseball bats bombs at people, which I think is kind of fun. Very impractical for real applications, but I think it's a fun thing for a comic. I don't know if his outfit should be red or not. I'll explain. So I've been working on a Renaissance Fair costume that is based on Mac's costume, and I can show you all again, I guess. Let me see, where is it? Hold over here. Let's see. There I am. Yeah, there's me. So you can see, like, if you compare the two, you can see I've got the leather piece of the chest plate. I've got the sort of tunic thing. I've got the leather arm guard. I've been working on a shoulder guard, although it's not finished yet. I've got the sort of the staff thing, pouches and stuff like that. And as you can see, it's red, because red was just the color that I used when I was working on it. But Benjamin's really more blue. His original sprites are blue. I wonder if blue would work better. I guess we could try. One of the other reasons I wanted to do this was so I could play around with character colors. So, creative folks out there, do you have that problem? Oh yeah, that's me. That's what I look like. Y'all have seen me before if you've been around for a while, but that's what I look like. Ta-da! And that's my bathroom. Isn't it lovely? Apparently, I look like the guy. I look like the bad guy from Toy Story 2. That's what I was told back when I was experimenting with showing my face on stream. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. Y'all can just listen to my voice. I don't need to be compared to the bad guy from Toy Story 2. I either got that Or, wow, you look exactly like how I think you look, which doesn't feel like a compliment somehow. Somehow when someone says like, wow, you look exactly like I thought you would look, I just can't help but think that's like disappointing to them. I don't know. It just doesn't sound like a compliment to me. So, yeah, I keep myself off camera usually. What was I saying though? Oh yeah, creative folks that make their own like OCs and stuff. Do you have a hard time coming up with like deciding on a color scheme for a character? It's one of the hardest things for me. Oh, that does look pretty good. It does look pretty good, actually. Maybe I should have made my costume red or blue. I think what it comes down to is I just really like color changing things. Like I've always been really into anything that like color cycles or has like rainbow effects or any of that. And so I'll often make like, thank you. I think it's pretty nice too. I often make computer backgrounds where I can like make various different color versions of them, so that like as I'm sitting here, my background will change colors, and I'm like, ooh, now it's that color. Now it's that color. And it's very hard for me to like decide on a final look for a lot of things. So, a bit of a challenge. Yeah, that works really well with his hair, because he's got that kind of reddish brown hair. I think that'll work. Oh, like a little Mac. I love Mac. Oh, buddy, you deserve a better creator. Someone that will actually make something out of your design. Not like me. I just queue up a bunch of cool ideas and then never do anything with them. If you, dear viewer, would like to make a video game with me and think you could actually bring it to task, please let me know. I would love to make a game someday. I just don't have the drive. Too easily distracted by other things. I used to make game-like things. Like there was a period of time I was learning a relatively simple game creation engine called Click Team Fusion. I had seen a couple of games made with Click Team Fusion, and it seemed like a good way to kind of like get myself introduced to game design. And like I made kind of a couple of little simple things that really didn't go anywhere, but I was real proud of them at the time. And then I just kind of like stopped because I guess I got distracted by something else. That's how I am. It's like right now I also have an animation that I'm working on that is not finished because I keep getting distracted by other things. Go figure. I want to finish it at some point, but animation just takes so long. It takes so long to do an animation. It's rewarding. I think what it comes down to is that, like with animation, is that I don't like cleanup, and I don't really like coloring. I like doing the actual animating part. You know, like making the characters move, figuring out how they'll move, that kind of thing. That's all fun for me. But when you have to go back and like ink it, and then color it, and all that, and sync up the voice movements and stuff, I'm just like, I don't want to do this. Can I have someone else do this for me? I need someone else to do the annoying parts for me, please. Fun little thing, his staff is made of a wood called Eisenbaum. I don't know if it's real. Is that real? Did I make that up, or is that real? Let's see. Eisenbaum. Oh. Immediately brought up a bunch of doctors. No, I'm talking about like an actual thing. No. Basically, it just means iron tree in German. And I wanted to convey this idea that it's like sturdier than most It's like sturdier than metal. This his staff. There he is. Look at little Mac. Ah, he's cool looking. Oh, I'm happy I did this. I wasn't sure if I would enjoy a stream or not, but can I say streaming always makes me feel better? It's because of you, dear viewer. I've got someone to talk to and ramble at. All right, let's do Jen next. Jennifer Charmaine has gone through a variety of changes over the course of her design. She originally looked very much like... I guess I could show y'all what the original sprites look like. It might be a useful thing. Spriters resource. By the way, if anybody out there is interested in like sprite work, the Spriters resource, this website, really a very useful website. I've used it for years. Let's see. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Clip. There we go. It's kind of hard to see. So that's Benjamin. He's just kind of a generic knight-looking dude. That's Kylie. She's got this like circlet and reddish brown hair, green dress. Tristram, again, I think he's supposed to be a ninja. He kind of has ninja-y clothing, and he uses like throwing stars, so I just always assumed he was a ninja. Phoebe is probably the farthest removed. Like my design of Phoebe is probably the farthest removed from her original design, where she was like, she had like a cape and like a something on top. I don't know what that is, but yeah, she was like a magic girl in the original. I kind of made her into like a martial artist. And then there's Ruben. He's just got like armor and stuff. And then the wind character that I made is sort of based on Norma. Norma is a character from the wind part of the game, who she doesn't ever actually she's not a playable character, so she's an NPC, but she's important at that time, and so I thought maybe I would make her into a full character. And so she's the youngest of these 7 characters that I've got. Anyway, that's that. So those are the characters. But yeah, originally Jennifer was very similar in design to her in-game variant. And then over time, I just kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what, I want to kind of play around with her design a bit. And I think I've told you all this before. I am the youngest in my family. I have 2 older sisters. Fairly certain I've mentioned them before. And so I'm very used to the idea of like big sister characters, because I grew up with 2 big sisters. And so when I was making Jen, I knew I was going to make her into a big sister. Because the idea is that like her story starts with her trying to save the life of her mother, who is sick, because her father left on a journey years ago and has never came back, and her mom tried to hold things together, but she overworked herself, wound up getting sick. She and her little sister have been trying to figure out what to do, and she becomes desperate, and that's how sort of her journey starts. And so I really wanted to kind of play up this idea that she is like a brave older sister character. And like just sort of as I worked with that mindset, I kept changing things. I was like, no, that's not big sister enough. That's not the essence of big sister. You have to make her more big sister-y. It's like, think about your big sisters. What would they do? How would they look? What can I say? I had 2 very good references growing up to teach me what it meant to have a big sis. I guess to describe the big sisterness I was going for, I wanted to make sure she looked very like capable of handling herself. Like even in the I mentioned that I had written a shoot. What's her belt look like? Sorry, give me a sec. I gotta check my own references here. What does her belt look like? Right. Okay. Yeah, I mentioned that I had written like part of a I'd written like the first episode twice. One of them was from Mac's perspective, and one of them was from Jen's perspective. And for most of the Jen's perspective one, like she's kicking butt. She's not in trouble or anything. Like the only reason that Mac shows up to help her, or like Mac shows up and like saves the day, is that like she gets ambushed by something. And that's the only reason like she's in a bad spot, is that she was kind of taken off guard. I just really wanted her to not be like a damsel in distress. Like I wanted it to come across as she can take care of herself, and she and Mac are kind of like on, I don't know, even footing. I don't know if that's the right. I hope that doesn't come across as like sexist or anything. Cause I don't know. I like female leads and female main characters in video games. I'm definitely one of those guys that likes to pick the like if it's a guy or a girl, I usually pick the girl. Because it's more interesting. I don't know. There she is. There's Jen. Yay, Jen. Oh, she doesn't have an ear. Forgot to give her an ear. Sorry, Jen. There's your ear. Cool. Alright, let's see. You know, I have not even bothered to ask y'all how you're doing tonight. How y'all doing tonight? How is your Tuesday going? Is it sweltering? It is not sweltering in my house, I should say that. It's not sweltering. This fan that I've got underneath my desk is doing wonders for me. Very happy with this fan. Hopefully y'all had a good day. I had a very easy day in terms of work. Mostly I'm just kind of like waiting. I have a task that I'm supposed to start on soon, which it sounds fun, or it sounded fun when I was first introduced to it. And it still sounds like it could be fun, but I'm concerned I might have bitten off more than I can chew, kind of thing. Basically, what it comes down to is a friend of mine asked me to help him, or a friend of mine asked me to help a friend of his. Great day. It's very hot outside. Yeah, it is very hot outside. Not wild about that part. Yeah, a friend of mine asked me to help his friend, who is a professor, to welcome to the oven. Hey, Darkman. He's writing a textbook, and the way that my friend introduced it was that his friend who was writing the textbook basically wanted kind of like a little what would you call it, like a little character that could be used to like give little tips and like kind of like make the book a little bit more interesting. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I've done like emote sets and I've done those type of visuals before, and it's kind of like it's something I've done before. I think I can probably help. Well, when I spoke to the guy who's actually writing the book, well, I'll call him Jim. When I spoke to Jim about it, he had more in mind than just that. Like, it sounds like he wants me to do all of the graphics for the book. And I was like, oh, that might be a lot. That might be too much. So I sent him an email today and I was like, hey, not trying to say I don't want to help you. We just got to scope this out a little bit. I want to make sure I can actually do what you are wanting me to do. So I sent him that email. He hasn't responded yet. Hopefully he won't be like, oh, no, I really do need you to do everything. So if you can't do that, I'm not going to, we'll just stop here. Because I kind of wanted to do it. Like, the idea of making, like, a little character for a textbook sounds fun. But I mean, I don't think I can do all of the visuals. It's just gonna be too much. So that was me. Well, so Eden, you said you had a great day. Did anything make the day great, or was it just a pretty good basic day? Did anything super cool happen? Just got all the things done. Excellent. That is super cool. Always good when you get the things done. Important. It's very easy to neglect adultery. Well, okay. It is very easy to neglect adultery. Oh, doggone it! I've had this up. Wait, can y'all see what I'm working on? Okay, yeah, good. Adultery is not quite the word I was going for. I meant like I was trying to say like adulting, but I wanted to put "uri" on the end to make it sound like silly. But adultery means something else. Well, suffice it to say, it is also very easy to neglect adultery. But it's very easy to neglect adulting. Adultering. It's very easy to neglect adultering. I'm embarrassed. Anyway, yes, it's very easy to neglect adulting. And so good on you for getting work done. And that was all I said. There wasn't anything else I said in there that was embarrassing. No, not at all. Oh my gosh. Ooh, this is a Halo song. I really liked the soundtrack for Halo. Actually, did y'all know that there are, I don't want to adult today. I mean, that's me most days. Like, I don't want to adult. I want a child. I want a child today as a verb. You have to say watching this is like magic because it just like the stuff just sort of shows up. Hey, hot dog. It is kind of weird to just see like the things kind of just pop in. It's a bunch of squiggles and then oh shit, it's a person. I had a friend in middle school who I got that sort of feeling from because usually when I do a drawing, I'm very like linear in the way I go. You know, like I'll usually start from like top down or bottom up or something like that, usually top down. And that's sort of how I build the character. But I had this friend who would like jump from one place to the other. Like he'd draw a face by going like this, that, 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 that. You know, he'd just sort of like be going all over the place as he drew it. And it was always really strange because it was like, oh my gosh, now there's a person. We'll just kind of come out of nowhere. I'm like, oh. But I imagine it's especially strange because, I mean, y'all can see me, like, y'all can see my cursor, but, like, to me it's very obvious because I'm drawing with a pen, and I can see the pen moving, so it feels very normal, but for y'all, yeah, it just does sort of, like, appear. Things just appear on the screen. Oh, I didn't finish the thought about Halo. Did y'all know there are Halo novels? They're really good. Like, a friend of mine introduced me to them. I've only read one so far, but, like, because, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's still the case, but growing up, any sort of, like, tie-in game or tie-in anything, they just sort of had this reputation for being terrible. Like, you're like, oh, it's a movie tie-in game. It's going to be awful. And so I kind of maintained that thought process for many years. And so when my friend first told me that there were like Halo books. I was like, oh, I'll read one to just kind of laugh at it. But no, it was really good. It was written super well. I was like, oh man, this is cool. Like, I learned all kinds of cool stuff about the Halo universe as a result. I do recommend. I mean, I can only recommend the one that I've read, which is the one called The Fall of Reach. But yeah, it was pretty darn neat. It was also cool to just get like a bit more background about Master Chief. Because I mean, for those who know Halo, you know, Master Chief is always in a helmet. He's supposed to be kind of like an analog for the player. And so I never really like cared about his backstory that much. But yeah, he's a cool guy. His real name is John. He's a pretty neat character. Best viewers on something. That sounds like an ad. Go away. It even has bot in the name. This bot even has bot in the name. That's silly. It's hot and your skin is awful. Yeah. I hate when it gets hot. Bad bot. I say we skin him and use him as a disguise. We'll infiltrate the AI. Be like, beep boop, I am also an AI. Teach me all of your secrets. Hot is too much hot for sure. Yeah. I mean, again, we had like, at least where I live, we had a nice long spring. And it kind of lulled me into a false sense of security about like summer. You know, it's sort of like, oh, summer's never going to show up. We're going to have an awesome, endless spring. And then summer's like, no, I'm going to be around until October. Oh, that's another thing. So I showed off my my costume earlier. It's very warm. It's a very warm costume. I really hope that when Ren Fair time kicks around in October, it has in fact cooled off, or I'm going to be sweltering in all that outfit. Ugh. Alright, Jen, you need to get colored. Oh, no, got this. Got like a little, there's an undershirt. But I am excited about that costume that I made. I think it's turned out very well. Nice. Who is that? Is that Alucard? Who is this little man? Chaos. Nice. Okay, I don't know who that is. Or is it Setzer? Oh, maybe it's Setzer. Is it Setzer from Final Fantasy 3? That's interesting. Someone on one of the discords that I deal with, I think it's supposed to be Setzer from Final Fantasy 3, which is fun. One of the people that on that server used a screenshot of Mika from Star Tropics 2 as their profile picture, and I was like, I know who that is! I was like, oh, it's Mika from Star Tropics 2! Someone else knows Star Tropics 2! Hooray! I don't know who that one is. Just a fancy man with coffee, it looks like. Okay, so here's a question. Oh, wait, no, we were going to play Rayman Legends next. Never mind. I was about to ask y'all what you want me to play after we finish Captain Toad, which I thought I would already be done with, but it continued on. But we were going to play the Rayman next, so that's what we're playing next. I guess I'll ask, if I do get around to a Castlevania game, one of the exploration ones, which one would you want to see, you think? Like, if you had the choice of 3 GBA ones, which would be Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, and Aria of Sorrow, or the 3 DS ones, which would be Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, or Order of Ecclesia. If I was going to play one of those, which one would you be interested in, you think? Like, would you want me to just kind of like start at the beginning, which would be like Circle of the Moon? Would you want me to like jump to a particular one? How would you want me to kind of go about it? Because I mean, they're all good games, so I wouldn't mind playing any of them. But they're also usually kind of time intensive. They take a while, so I wouldn't be able to play them like back to back or anything. Ugh. I like to ask for y'all's input. Again, I mean, yep, I do this so people can watch it, so if it's not something interesting, then that's not helpful. I say that, and then I have a series going on right now of game and watch games, so clearly I don't care too much, but care enough. Never really played the DS ones. It'd be interesting seeing this. Okay. Wait, does this have words? Well, they're in Japanese. I probably won't pay that much attention. Okay. Thank you, hot dog. Oh, hey, that's I know her. That's the character from Persona 4 Arena. I know her. I can't remember what her name is. She's the she's like the robot girl from that game. Oh, this song's cool. Let's see, which of the DS ones would I play? I mean, my favorite of the 3 DS ones is Portrait of Ruin. That's my favorite, like, exploration Castlevania in general. Well, it really comes down to if you include Symphony of the Night, which I think you should include Symphony of the Night, and Bloodstained. Because I'm sure some people would say that Bloodstained is not a Castlevania game at all, but I mean, it's very much like a spiritual successor kind of game to Castlevania, so I feel like it still kind of fits. If you were to include Bloodstained, that's probably my favorite one. It's just got so much content, it's so well made, and you can throw pigs at people. Who's going to complain about that? Gotta throw those pigs. But in terms of like the official Castlevanias, it's probably Portrait of Ruin that's my favorite. I just like the characters so much. Portrait of Ruin is the one where you play as Jonathan Morris and Charlotte Olin, and it's the one where you can like swap between them. I love that swapping mechanic. I think it's such a cool idea. Like, it's such a cool idea that when I was coming up with the story, like the game design for this game, Viator, I had it in my head that that's how you play it. Is you play as Mac and then one of his allies, and you could swap between them anytime you wanted. But you could only like swap to the other allies at like save points or something. I don't know. I like being able to change things up when I play a game. I was talking to a friend of mine about Final Fantasy 12 a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and we were talking about the Zodiac job system version of FF12 versus the original PS2 release version of FF12. And I said I preferred the original PS2 release, which sort of allows you to do whatever you want with your characters. There are no restrictions on it. And he said that he felt like the Zodiac job system version was more interesting to him because it prevents you from just choosing the strongest party and sticking with that. And what that comment made me realize was that, like, what he says makes sense if you're the type of person who will like find the optimal strategy and then just never deviate from it. And that's not me at all. Like I might find the optimal strategy, but I'll get bored of it, and so I want to go do something else. I guess maybe I'm ADHD. I don't know, but I'll just constantly swap things around just because I don't know, it's fun. And in doing so, I don't follow the sort of optimal strategies. I don't know, just kind of like a funny thing that conversation made me realize. All right, I need this color. Wait, is this color what? Yeah, we're down that one. Boop. Y'all do that? If you figure out like, do you look up what like the best builds are for games where you can like really change up your character builds, and you're like, oh, this is, the internet has decided that this is the best way to do it, so I will just strive to do the same? Or do you try and like find the best one and then stick with what you come up with? Or are you like me and you just keep changing things constantly? Or just strategy? Because like when I was playing both Grand Blue Fantasy and Genshin Impact, I kept getting frustrated because it felt like my party was always underpowered. And I think the reason for that is that both of those games are structured around the idea that their players will use kind of like the meta to develop their strategies. And so they had to kind of like keep coming up with counters and like progressively stronger characters and so forth and so on. And then you got me, who's just kind of like doing whatever. And so I never felt like I was strong enough. But I feel like I wouldn't. It sort of takes me out of it if I just look up these like optimal strategies and just try to go with that, because it makes the game feel less like a magical world that this, you know, fantasy box is allowing me to look into and interact with, and more like a computer program with ones and zeros that can be optimized to win. I don't know. I've always kind of enjoyed letting myself get lost in the world of a video game, and stuff like tier lists and optimal strategies kind of reminds me that it's all fake, and that is less fun for me. So that's why I'm not a big fan of like tier lists. It feels like you're trying to like suck the fun out of the experience. But that's just me. That's just me. I gotta tell y'all, I've really enjoyed doing this. We should do more art streams. I might do more art streams. I might do another art stream and just draw the rest of the characters, because this has been really entertaining. For me, at least. I don't know how well they'll perform, but, I mean, my streams don't usually perform very well anyway, so it's fine. This isn't my job. I'm not dependent on this to make money. It's just for fun. Little buttons are dark. Oh, I love this song. Yeah, and I just want to listen to this song. I know it probably sounds silly, but I just kind of want to listen to this song. Can y'all hear it? I'll make sure y'all can hear it. This is one of the boss battle themes from Romancing Saga 3. It's so good. Put myself on mute for a second. Okay, I'm back. Isn't that a good song? Oh, it's so good. So a cool thing that that song is from a Square Enix acoustic collection that I want to say all of the songs on the collection were performed by a quartet of, I think it was a violin, a guitar, drums, and maybe a flute, one other instrument. Um, and they made so many cool like different sounds for the songs based on just that like small collection of different instruments. It was really good. Um, I think it was just called the Square Enix Acoustic Collection, something like that. I can look it up for y'all if you're interested in trying to find it. Um, but I remember the first time I heard that song, I was no, not P. Stop that. Yeah, there. I was driving down to visit my cousin, and I had just gotten the collection in the mail like a day before I left, and so I was like, I'll just listen to this on the way down. And man, I was jamming out the whole time because I was just like, oh, it's so good! Oh, it's so good! I mean, what was especially exciting for me was that all of the songs on there are from like 16-bit era Square Enix RPGs, which is of course that's my favorite time. I love the Super Nintendo. I feel like that's when Square was really firing on all cylinders, so to speak. But yeah, it's a good CD. I really like it. The gold color. Now we're listening to some Chasm. I turned the music volume back down, but I'm not sure I got it in the right place again. So if it's too loud or too quiet, let me know. Yeah, this song. This is the town theme from Chasm. You remember back when I played that? I don't know if y'all were around back then. That might have been back before I really had any kind of an audience. But that was an exploration platformer. That was like it was cool because the creator of it had made a sort of experience where it's an exploration game where the map is randomized in the sense that it's a series of like chunks. Like the guy made like a series of rooms, and dynamically they're kind of like stitched together into the world map, and it's just really cool. And I think what I liked about it so much was that even though it was like an indie game, it didn't feel like an indie game, and I mean that in a good way. I have Chasm, Chasm. I can show you all a picture of it. Give me a sec. Screenshot. I played it years ago. So it's in my it's on my YouTube channel if you want to watch the playthrough. Chasm. Yeah, this Chasm. Really solid game. And what I was saying is that like I have a perhaps undeserved impression of indie games as being very the way you describe it in a sense. Yeah, I've heard of Spelunky, but I've never played it before. That's referential to Spelunker, right? Like the original Spelunker game. I never played it, but I want to say at least one of the songs from Spelunky was used extensively in Minecraft Hardcore that PBG used to do. And I was always really excited when that song would come on because I didn't know. For a long time, I didn't know what it was from, but I loved the way it sounded. I was like, "Oh, this song sounds so good," but I have no idea where it's from because most of the background music that that Todd put in were songs from like the PlayStation era. A lot of really good RPG songs. And I could usually recognize those, but the Spelunky song I couldn't pick up on. Anyway, let me finish the thought about Chasm. What was the thought about Chasm? Where's I going with that? Alright, I guess the thought on Chasm is finished because I can't remember what I was talking about. Doggone it. Yeah, I did mention room generation. I mean, that's basically it. Just this idea that, like, it allowed you to have, like, different layouts. Oh, the indie thing. Yeah, I have this negative impression, which again is probably undeserved, that indie games love to sneak in subversive elements, like things that you don't expect. And it makes sense, you know, like for an indie developer, they want to stand out, and doing something that will sort of get the views, so to speak, makes sense. That's a bit of a cynical take, I know, but I understand why people would make games that have like subversive elements in them. But I hate that. It drives me crazy because it's like I'll play a game and think it's one thing, and then and usually it's horror. Usually it's some sort of horror element. Like you'll be playing a game and it's like, oh, this is a fun game. It's very nice. There's like, it's a fun, pleasant game, and then out of nowhere it's like, oh no, now everyone's eating each other's faces. That's unfortunate. You know, I'm like, I was ill prepared for this. I hate that stuff. This sort of like fake out stuff bugs the heck out of me. And so I have this negative impression, again, probably undeserved, of indie games as doing that all the time. But Chasm didn't have that problem. It was just a fun game that, you know, stuck with its intent of making a game that was like an enjoyable platformer, and I really liked it. And again, if you want to get an idea of what it's like, I have a stream series where I played through the game on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/MoeChicken. So feel free to dig it up, check it out, or just go play it. That works too. I don't know if I like this green or not. I might change this around. Apparently it's part of a Humble Bundle. Well, give it a try. Excellent game. I have it for PS4. I think it was a game that they expected people to do a lot of speed running with. I don't do speed running, but I want to say that it has like speed running things about it. So there are probably some people that have run it before. I remember I got it from Limited Run Games, and they had like a little booklet that went with it, and it had like the author's notes in it. And one of the first things that was in the author's note was like the games that it was influenced by, and it was stuff like Super Metroid, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and like Blaster Master. And I was like, oh, I like all these games. I'm gonna enjoy this one. You know, I've never beaten Blaster Master. I don't think I've ever gotten past the third world in Blaster Master. It's a game that I've never given enough time to, I think. I've talked about that before, the idea that, like, there's some games where if you just give it, like, an hour, you'll find out it's, like, an amazing game. But most people don't do that because it's too weird or whatever. I just have never taken the time to give Blaster Master enough time. We'll start with gray. I'm not sure if this will work or not. I was trying to decide what her sort of like underdress thing should be. Because like Jennifer's thing, she's the Earth character, and in the original game she could like talk to trees, So I wanted to give her a very like natural botanical color scheme. She has like a browns and greens. But I don't know, gray might be too boring. Thing is though that like she's wearing this kind of like I don't know what you call it, long vest on top of a dress. So both the top and the bottom need to be the same color. I feel like I want the skirt to be gray, but I didn't really want the collar to be gray. I guess it is a fantasy costume, I could just make it whatever, but... That's another thing I strive to do when I make character designs, is... I usually try to want to make them, like, make sense to some degree, you know? I used to say I wanted to make character designs that I'd be willing to, like, wear out in public, kind of thing. Like, I don't want to make character designs where, like, the girl characters wear, like, these, like, you know, battle bikini kind of things too much. Like, I want characters to have, like, clothes that are clothes, even if they're, like, silly clothes. So when I design a costume, I'm like, okay, well, where does this piece of fabric, what piece of clothing does this attach to, so to speak? I don't know. I might have gone too quiet on her hair. I want to say her hair color originally was more like a bright salmon color. Let me fiddle with her hair. Excuse me, Jen. That's closer to what her original hair color was, but now her skin's the wrong color. This is what I was talking about. Like, I'm constantly fiddling with the colors when I make a character. I just can't help myself. I'm like, maybe it'll look better this way. Maybe it'll look better this way. Maybe it'll look better this way. Now she looks too pale. Undo. Keep it at the top of the register. No. Too dark. I guess that's fine. It may be that I just have too heavy of a line weight on this, but it's work, I guess. Is this entertaining for y'all? I hope this is fun. Again, I did this because I didn't want to... I think at the beginning of the stream I said, I did this because I didn't want to talk very much. I've probably talked more as a result of drawing. This is a good example of me not thinking the process through, but I don't know. I also just wanted to draw, so hopefully it's been entertaining. I think it's also helpful. I hope this doesn't come across as like arrogant, but for me, I think it would have helped me out early on if I could have seen the process of drawing a bit more, like the process of digital drawing a bit more from people that have a style that I wanted to emulate. And so, like, I would have enjoyed watching people doing drawings in, like, what I wanted my drawings to look like. Well, it would have been a double-edged sword for me, because on the one hand, it would help me. On the other hand, I would compare myself to them, which is never a good plan. So, it would have been both good and bad. But yeah, maybe this will help somebody. I don't know. I think playing video games for so many years has given me sort of an irrational contempt for really short skirts. So like when I first made Jennifer, I'll bring up her picture again. When I first made Jennifer, her skirt actually went all the way down to her ankles. Because I was like, no, I don't want a mini skirt. I hate mini skirts. I see them all the time. No mini skirts. Eventually, I brought it up to her knees just because I wanted her to be more mobile, I guess you could say. I wanted her to give more of an impression of like being able to get around. But yeah, I have sort of an irrational contempt for mini skirts. Like, no mini skirts. There are too many of them. Actually, that's a funny thing about Genshin Impact too, is that that's a game that all the girls wear pants. Even if it's like, well, not all of them, but many of the female characters in Genshin Impact have pants on. And I think the reason for that was they knew that the characters would be like climbing up mountains and stuff, and they're like, okay, well, we don't want to just create panty shot the game. Let's give these girls pants, and it's kind of nice to see characters with pants. Not that I don't think people should wear skirts if they want to. If you want to wear a skirt, that's fine, but I just like variety. Alright. Well, there's Jen and Mac. We're at 145. Probably not enough time to do a whole nother one. I guess I could shade these two, and we could call it for the evening. Again, apologies that I didn't play a game. I'll try to be back on a game on Thursday. I just didn't feel like it tonight. Wanted to do something else. Can't hear my music at all. Oh, this is Radical Dreamers. I'm glad I did Radical Dreamers for my channel, but I will admit that like when I went back and played it again, it was closer to Chrono Cross's plot than I realized, and I was kind of sad about that because like it did all the things that Chrono Cross did that made me upset, or it did some of the things that Chrono Cross did that made me upset, and I was like, oh man, I thought Radical Dreamers was like the good sequel to Chrono Trigger. Nope, they both have nonsense in them. Oh, well, what are you gonna do? I can't remember who I was talking about that with the other day, but I was talking about the idea of how once a creative person shares their creation with the world, and then like Kingdom Hearts, yeah. Once a creative person shares their creation with the world, to some degree it ceases, and someone is interested in it, to a very small degree it ceases to be theirs entirely. At least that's my perspective on it. And the sort of analog I used for it is the idea of a publicly traded company. You know, like if you have a company that you manage like out of your house, nobody, you don't have any investors, it's just you, then you can do whatever you want with that company. It is completely yours. But once you get any sort of like a stakeholder, you have some responsibility to that stakeholder. And the more stakeholders you have, the less complete control you have over that thing. And that's kind of how I feel about video games sometimes, is that as a game becomes more successful or famous or whatever, the creators of that game have more of a responsibility to the whims of their fans. And some people will say that, like, well, you should never give in to the whims of your fans because, you know, fans can never get, you know, can never unify on their opinions and so forth, and, you know, you shouldn't cater to them. But I feel like there's probably a balance you need to strike. Because I am a fan, and I was, for example, very upset with the direction that Chrono Cross went in with the plot of Chrono Trigger. I was like super resistant to the changes they were making, and as a result, I still sort of discredit Chrono Cross as like a sequel to Chrono Trigger. It's just another game that has Chrono in the name, to me. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing how as you gain fame for a creation, you kind of lose your creation a little bit. Like, I've seen that in content creators on YouTube as well. Like, you go back and you look at early Game Grumps, for example. It was a lot edgier. And I know that time has passed, that's also a factor. But they were willing to say things back then that they would absolutely not say now, because Aaron owns a company. You know, it's like he has people counting on him to keep their jobs. And so he kind of, like, I feel like he kind of has to hold his tongue a little bit more. Because it's not completely his, you know, it's not just him, you know, talking to the internet and no one cares. It's like oh, they're Game Grumps, they're significant. I don't know. The strange burden of success. The paradox of, as you become, everyone wants to be successful and famous, except the people who are successful and famous, because they know that it can be awful. Very odd. Very odd. What the heck? Don't get huge. Don't get huge. Yeah, I really should probably end the stream, because I am even more rambly than usual right now. Go watch some Murder, She Wrote. That's what I've been doing in the evenings recently. I have the complete DVD collection of the old show Murder, She Wrote, and I've been kind of like putting it on in the evenings as I've been working on either my Renaissance Fair costume or these redesigns, and I just kind of like have it on in the background, and it's like, oh, it's so comforting. Murder, She Wrote is great. It's so good. Do y'all know Pushing Up Roses' That Time on Murder, She Wrote series? Because if not, you owe it to yourself to go watch that. That is a quality series. She kind of got me to reconsider it, because like I watched Murder, She Wrote with my mom growing up, and so I was very nostalgic for it. But watching Roses talk about that show really got me to like reconsider it, and oh my gosh, it's such a good show. Freaking Angela Lansbury was just such a class act. Just like, she made every episode wonderful. What an amazing actress. That's not sexist to say it. Is there a continued? No, you can pick up random episodes. The only continuity, I guess, is that there are a very limited number of repeat characters. Like her nephew Grady shows up sometimes. The various people in Cabot Cove show up, which is her hometown. But for the most part, each episode is pretty much encapsulated. There are a couple of two-parters, but there aren't too many of them. Oh, this song? I don't like this one. No. I don't like that one. If you were gonna check it out, what I'd suggest is start with something from the first 5 seasons. Roses has mentioned that she thinks that the 5th season is where the show really started to take off. And there's something to be said for that. The 5th season has a lot of really wacky episodes, I guess you could say. And before that, they were a little bit more subdued in the way they wrote their stories. But just about anywhere is going to be good. Except for maybe the last season. Again, I only have Roses' word for this, so I don't know if it's the case or not. But from what she says, the show was in sort of dire straits by the last season, to the point where they had very little creative freedom on the show, and a lot of people were just kind of phoning it in. Not Lansbury, because again, she's a class act, but they really had to kind of cut back in a lot of ways for that last season, so it's not quite as quality as some of the others. But yeah, actually, if you want Murder, She Wrote recommendations, I can give you some. But honestly, if you're familiar with Rose's series, what I would suggest is watching one of the episodes she talks about, and then watching her That Time in Murder, She Wrote. It's really fun to do it that way. When I started going back and watching them, that's what I did. Is I picked out the episodes that she did a episode on, and I would just kind of I would watch. I think I would watch her episode, Rose's episode first, and then I'd go and watch the episode of Murder, She Wrote that it was based on. And that's a good way to do it. That's an entertaining way to go about it. This is not colored in. Forgot to color this in. Oops. Okay. Gee, I love that show. It just brings me right back to summers in elementary school, hanging out with my mom in the morning as she was working on ironing or something, and just watching Murder, She Wrote. We'd watch Murder, She Wrote, and then we'd watch The Price is Right, and then I'd go out and play. It was just so great. The things you remember. Things that become nostalgic. The pain of the past. I found that very strange. Apparently the word nostalgia is a combination of Greek words for the past and pain. So algia, I believe, is a Greek suffix referring to discomfort or pain. So I want to say that the word nostalgia in Greek would mean pain received from the past. Which is funny because so often we think of nostalgia as being a word that means a positive longing, or a positive reflection on something that happened when you were younger. So it's kind of funny to think that the word refers to discomfort, pain. That blue looks good. That was a good decision. Thanks, me. Good job, me. Thank you. I think we're just going to finish up Mac, and then I'll call it for the night. Because now I want to go watch Murder, She Wrote. I'm a hip-happening guy. My evenings are filled with Murder, She Wrote. Gotta watch that grandma show. It's important. Did you know I'm single? Oh, what are you gonna do? Girls don't like me. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that I mentioned Murder, She Wrote just now. Oh well. I wonder whatever happened to that guy that got angry at me on YouTube. The guy that spoke to me in Hebrew first, and then when I responded, he spoke to me in English and was mean. I didn't hear from him again, so I don't know what happened with that guy. Or person. I don't know if they were a guy. It's just so weird that they were like positive in one language and then mean in another. Why would you go out of the way to speak another language and be mean? It was so strange. Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Very odd. I mean, again, it is possible if in fact the person did not speak English as their native language, that they were trying to do like like sarcasm and it didn't carry off because it was in text or something. Maybe, but why would you be so positive and complimentary, and then as soon as the person you're talking to responds, you like snipe at them? It's so odd to me. It's odd enough to me that I feel like I didn't get it, you know? You ever have that situation where you're like, something feels so far removed from your expectation that you're like, maybe I just didn't understand? It's kind of how I felt about that. It was like, maybe they meant something else and I just didn't get it. So otherwise it just doesn't seem rational. People are weird though, you're right. Absolutely true. People are weird. Especially online where like, you know, so much is hard to convey because so much of our conversations happen over text. And text is technically a contextless medium. We try to give it context, but there's nothing built into it that gives it context. Like I remember back when I did have a girlfriend, which has been years, I would get so nervous if she like ended a statement with a period instead of an exclamation point. Because I'm like, oh no, what did I do? She's unhappy because she didn't end with an exclamation point. You know, it's like these things that like, they just create paranoia. What is this? Why did that happen? But, you know, it's trying to make sense of something that doesn't have context. I think that's why you need to be kind of like forgiving of people online. Especially randos, you know, because you don't know. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. And if you let it bother you, then it just ruins your day. It doesn't impact them, but it ruins your day. It's that, there's that saying that, like, revenge is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die from it. You know? That's kind of how that, like, when I first heard that, I was like, yep, you know, that is accurate. That's kind of what revenge is like. It's drinking poison and expecting someone else to die as a result. Was it was either revenge or spite, something like that. But it's true, you know? The longer you hold on to those negative feelings, the more they hurt you and don't hurt the other person. The best revenge is to just get on with your life. Although, I mean, I get it. I get the vengeance mindset. But, yeah, it just doesn't help. Reminds me of that movie, that Liam Neeson movie, Taken, or the second one, Taken 2. If you're not familiar, it's a movie about like Liam Neeson. He was like a former spy or something, and his daughter gets kidnapped by like a slave ring while she's on vacation, and he like goes on sort of like a murder spree to like kill all the people who took his daughter from him and save her. And like to some degree it's kind of like a cool like, yeah, awesome dad moment situation. And then like in the second movie is all about the people, like the vast number of people that he killed just so that he could save his daughter. It's like all the people that he killed want to then have revenge on him. And you're like, yeah, this kind of makes sense. Like, his daughter was kidnapped, and as a result, he murdered, like, hundreds of other people. But he's the good guy, That's sort of what revenge is like. It just kind of creates more revenge. We get into the really deep things in in hour 2 of a drawing stream. That's when we get deep, man. I killed a guy once. Did not kill a guy once. Absolutely not true. Oh, is this the Mines? Is this the Mines song? Yeah. Okay, so this song that you're hearing right now is part of what convinced me that, like, when I heard this, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a good game. Because it's just so, like, this is such a cool song. And, like, one of the things that I like about the soundtrack of Chasm is how, like, the heck? No, don't do that. How percussion focused it is. I think I've talked about this before, the idea that when I make my grooves, I usually start from the rhythm first. Whereas I would assume that most musicians start from some sort of melody. And the reason I have difficulty with starting with the melody is that I get, again, this makes me sound really like I could probably got ADHD. I get bored too quickly. Like, as I'm trying to write the melody, I'm like, but now I want to do this, and so I'll change it up. But with rhythms, it's a little bit faster paced, so you can kind of build them quicker. And so I really liked how this soundtrack has so much percussion and like a driving beat, but it still sounds really good. Like, it's still a really solid soundtrack, but it just has this kind of like percussion focus. I don't know. I like it. I gotta work on music more. I bought a little miniature keyboard to try to work on melodies a bit more, because during my day-to-day life, I come up with melodies all the time. I'm just like sitting around, and I'll come up with a little something, and I'll sing it to myself, and then I'll forget about it. And anytime I've tried to write it down, I've run into the problem of, as I'm trying to write it down and I'm struggling to do so, I forget parts of it, or it gets morphed because I can't figure out such and such, and I wind up with something completely different. And so I thought maybe if I had a keyboard, it would enable me to move through that process faster. But now I'm faced with the fact that I don't know how to play piano, and so I don't have any experience using a keyboard. So even though it's easier for me to figure out the notes, it's still just as hard to figure out the time signature, or the composition. Hang on, I can tell you. It is a Casio Tone SA51. It's the one I got is designed to be portable. Like they sold it as a like a music teacher keyboard, or like a keyboard that like a kid would bring with them to school and like bring to like class or something. So it's very lightweight. It's also pretty small. I think it's got 44 keys on it. And it is fun. And I actually wrote do I have it? Hang on, I might have it. Let's see. I wrote a little tune that turned out very well, I think. Might be my trash bin. Where is it? Where did I put that thing? Downloads, documents. Oh god, where is it? I'm sorry, this isn't fun. I'm just fiddling with things on my computer. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Up. Scan viruses, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't have a virus. Also, we finished up Mac, so we're basically done with the stream, but I wanna, I'll let y'all hear this first. Okay, let's see, let me stop the music. Bump up the volume! Oh, you can't hear that. I can't hear that. Can y'all hear that? Couldn't really hear it. Yeah, that's all. I kind of just like I was fiddling with the keyboard one night, and I just wrote that little song, and I like it. It's kind of a cute little. My mom described it as I think she said it sounded Irish, or yeah, Irish or Scottish music. I could hear that. I don't know. Music's so much fun. Creating stuff is just fun. I don't know. It's such a joy to like have something in your head and then you just make it happen. And it's like, oh, look, I made this thing. It's awesome. All right, y'all. Well, this has been a creative stream. Did a couple of little drawings. They turned out well. And I made content. Ooh, content. So in the next stream, we will probably be back on, excuse me, Legacy of the Rudra. Content. Yeah, right. Content. Very important. But yeah, thanks for coming out. I'm the MoeChicken. This has been me drawing. And thanks for stopping by.